A changing of the guards often brings renewed hope and vigor for our country's citizens. On August 2, 2020, after a 5-month-long delay, governments transitioned and Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali was sworn in as the new president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Like all governments, the first few months in office is critical. It sets the tone of what is to be expected by the citizens and demonstrates the government's commitment to meeting its obligations to the people. I'm Gomiti Gangadin, and in this first installment of a 5-part series, Morana Isaacs will take you through the major achievements, policies, and work of the government's first 20 days in office.
I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. I do so swear, so help me God.
August 2nd, 2020 will be etched in the minds of Guyanese of all walks of life. Following a 5-month-long struggle to restore democracy and to uphold the will of the electorate, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali was sworn in as the 9th Executive President of Guyana. His focus: launching the country into an era of economic growth, transparency, accountability, and strengthened foreign and bilateral relations. On the day of him taking the oath of office, President Ali appointed critical members of his cabinet so that the transition of government could take place efficiently and effectively. Former President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo was named Vice President. Brigadier Mark Phillips, Prime Minister, Mohabir Anil Nandlal as the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, and Gail Teixeira as Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance. Monday, August 3rd, the President met the heads of department and senior staff at the Office of the President, urging them to remain professional as his administration seeks to deliver quality services to citizens.
I'm here to assure you that we are going to work in a unified manner. We're going to work in a way that will see the people of Guyana, that will see every Guyanese benefit from the resources of our country. This office is the highest office in our country. Therefore, the employees and workers who work in this office are expected to deliver the highest level of service at the highest standard.
By August 5th, a mere 3 days after assuming office, President Ali delivered on his campaign promise to engage and employ youthful energy to lead his results-oriented government. Those appointments saw many first-time ministers and members of parliament taking their oaths of office at the Arthur Chung Conference Centre. Government came into office at a time when the world was struggling and continues to struggle to adequately address and respond to the dreaded novel coronavirus disease COVID-19 and the crippling effects it has had on economies. The administration wasted no time in meeting and engaging critical partners to boost Guyana's healthcare system in a move to contain the spread of the virus. By August 8th, government had secured 46,000 rapid antibody test kits, 240,000 surgical masks, personal protection equipment PPE, and other supplies.
Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Maya Mottley, is sending us an additional 15,000 PCR test kits. By next week, we should receive another 10,000 PCR test kits from PAHO with a commitment to supply an additional 40,000 PCR test kits.
There were shortages in testing capabilities and a $1.6 billion COVID-19 hospital that lacked basic equipment such as oxygen tanks, adequate beds, and other items. On the foreign relations front, just 4 days into his presidency, Dr. Ali received a visit from and held bilateral engagements with Suriname's president, His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, marking the first time that agreements were brokered between the nations within such a short time. The engagement saw the establishment of strict timelines to address areas of agriculture, infrastructure, information and communication technology (ICT), cybersecurity, anti-piracy, oil and gas, and the security sector. Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Hugh Todd said the PPPC government is committed to working together as both states have the same prospects for development.
We recognize that if we work closer together, we'll be able to improve the lives and the standard of living of both of our peoples. So we recognize that we have to work aggressively on advancing both of our countries. We want to do that within the ambit of our regional participation, but strengthening our bilateral engagements.
By his first weekend at his inauguration at the National Cultural Center, Dr. Ali delivered his first full address, laying out plans for reopening the economy with a focus on health and frontline workers, agriculture and education, and securing our democracy.
All of us are painfully aware of the trauma and anguish that our people endured over the last 5 months, as vigorous attempts were made to destroy our democratic credentials and deny the will of the electorate. All of us have an obligation to the nation and to ourselves to ensure that never again should any generation of our people be subjected to such unlawful behavior. Therefore, a review of events related to the electoral process over the last 5 months will begin shortly in order to determine forensically exactly what transpired and to hold accountable any person who sought to pervert and corrupt the system.
By the second week in office, the housing sector was discovered to have had a backlog with 62,000 applications on file at the Central Housing and Planning Authority, the announcement of the development of new housing schemes. By August 11th, a mere 9 days after assuming office, Minister of Public Works Wan Edgehill held meetings with the contractor for the Legwan Ferry Stelling to address the delayed rehabilitation of the dilapidated structure. The $413 million contract was awarded since 2018, with little done to remedy the situation. Minister Edgehill was resolute that the Guyanese people must get value for their hard-earned money. Later in August, he would announce a forensic audit into the contractual works by the Guyana Audit Office.
One of the things that would have caused significant delays is the inability of the Transport and Harbors Department and the contractor to reconcile on one simple item in the contract, salvageable materials, because the contract as written at that time envisaged that materials that could have been reused should have been reused. And there was this big debate about what could be reused and what could not be reused. And a contract was stalled, the people of Legwan suffering, and a contractor twisting his thumbs and benefiting from a cash advance given from the state's coffers, doing nothing.
10 days in, government faced the challenges of breached sea defenses and flooding in some sections of the country. Minister Edgehill moved swiftly to address the 300 meters of breached embankment at the Danzig-Maikoni foreshore. Rapid assessments were facilitated by a team from the Civil Defense Commission (CDC) in collaboration with the Regional Democratic Council (RDC), Neighborhood Democratic Council (NDC), and Ministry of Social Services, with the ministry providing temporary shelter to the displaced residents. With a mandate of ensuring that every household benefits from the oil and gas revenues, Vice President Dr. Jagdeo announced that work will commence on the legislative framework for the sector. It is government's intention that these changes would bring a reduction of the vast powers held over the sector by the Finance and Natural Resources Ministers. Still within 14 days, the Natural Resources Ministry announced that it had already engaged a team of international experts who were tasked with the revision of the Payara Development Project. Many, including the PPPC, have expressed concerns over our local content policy. Vice President Jagdeo announced government's intention to introduce legislation that would compel oil companies to address the issues affecting the business community and the ordinary man.
We believe that enough has not been done to allow Guyanese to benefit from the developments taking place. And therefore, that will be one of the areas that we plan to negotiate with the company very soon. But more, it's not just in negotiation. With a consultation with the public, we plan to set up a working group. That's why we reached out to Dr. Paul, because we know he did some seminal work in this regard. And then once we've come up with positions that will ensure that our people are treated in an equal manner.
Within the first 20 days, President Ali announced an injection of $60 million into the economy to cushion the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. The money was intended to complement the $4.5 billion that was set aside to assist households during the pandemic. $2 million of that amount was secured from the Government of India after bilateral talks. Those measures encompassed personal assistance, loans, mortgages, and support for business owners.
The Bank of Guyana will extend the moratorium to December 2020 to allow banks to further defer customer payments to the end of December 2020. To cope with the low revenue generation needs to meet operational needs. Additionally, a waiver is being given to Section 13 of Supervision Guideline Number 5. The relaxation of stringent statutory measures is intended to result in direct benefits to customers of banks by giving the financial institutions the ability to operate with more flexibility.
At the time, the head of state noted the Bank of Guyana would reduce liquidity requirements in two areas. These were the reducing of the reserve requirements from 12% to 10%, the lowering of liquid asset requirements for demand and deposit from 25% to 20%, and saving and time deposit from 10 to 15%.
These measures will result in overall increased liquidity in the financial sector. The reduction in reserve requirement will result in injection of $9.4 billion, and the reduction in the liquid asset requirements will immediately release an estimated $23.3 billion in the economy. The existing lending rate ranges between 6.5% and 16%. Some commercial banks have agreed to apply special treatment to the interest accrued during the moratorium period, including, but not limited to, no capitalization, term extension, and foregoing of interest in special circumstances to loan with an outstanding balance of $10 million and below. Commercial banks have agreed to waive all bank charges, especially ATM, local merchant charges, to encourage more out-of-bank transactions, as well as charges for transactions by senior citizens. These measures will not affect the soundness of our banking system
and financial architecture.
On the health front, the interventions by President Ali and his team saw the country moving from having less than 10,000 N95 masks to 65,000 by August 19th, and an additional order of 25,000 was en route to the country. For education, while a decision was taken for schools to remain closed to face-to-face learning, $500 million was budgeted and allocated to equip schools and provide COVID-19 support services and facilities. Both state and private media houses have been recruited to provide educational content and materials to the students in the public education system.
The measures outlined today are not intended to be the answer to all the potential consequences of COVID-19. As a government, we'll work tirelessly on implementing the objectives of our all-encompassing plan. We cannot do it alone. We need your help. We need your support. We look to you, the citizens, to play your part.
From day one, the government hit the ground running, ensuring that the needs of the population, particularly during the pandemic, were adequately addressed as far as resources allowed. In our next episode, we will take a look at the achievements for the next 20 days. These include the 45 measures in the emergency budget, potable water reaching communities for the first time, and other transformational activities government has been spearheading.
Thank you, Morano. In our second installment tomorrow, we look at efforts made between days 21 to 40. I'm Gomiti Gangadin. Thank you for watching.